Hi everybody, my name is Danny from Board Game Sanctuary. Welcome to my first Talking Sanctuary video. And this is where we talk candidly about board games, life in Board Game Sanctuary, as well as some board games that have kind of appeared on the radar. Stay tuned. Welcome to the very first episode of Talking Sanctuary, where we talk off the cuff in one cut and we talk generally about board games, what's happening in the Board Game Sanctuary world, and what sort of board games have appeared on my radar or on your radars, and we just have a really nice open discussion about board gaming in general, as well as life in general. And I'm so excited to bring you a series of new videos where I just talk candidly without all the skits and the scripts, and you know, this is just me sitting in front of the camera and trying to connect with you guys and hearing what you guys have to say and what you guys want to contribute in terms of what you want to see on the channel, as well as hearing about news updates, as well as creating a conversation. And so the first question I'm going to address in this video is, what is Board Game Sanctuary? Well, the word sanctuary to me is kind of like a little safe haven, a place where I can go to kind of dabble in my hobbies and just explore where my mind wants to explore. And one of the main things that really inspired me to name the channel Board Game Sanctuary was my love of fish tanks, aquariums, ponds. That love kind of came from when I was younger, you know, just working on backyard ponds with my dad. And creating fish tanks, as well as breeding fish and seeing how he grew like water lilies. My dad is Vietnamese and he grew up in the rural areas along the Mekong River in Vietnam, and he just brought that with him when he came to Australia, and he's just instilled that love for biology and tanks, and I've carried it on now, and it's now a feature of the channel. So that's one interpretation of the word sanctuary. The other meaning that's attached to the word sanctuary is the idea of a game haven, a safe place to play whatever board games you want to play, whether you're an RPG player, D&D player, Euro, player, whatever game really piques your interest. This is a safe space to play those games. And I felt like calling it Board Game Sanctuary just kind of gave this inviting sense to people who kind of just came across the channel. I guess my main focus for the channel is to just present board games in a light-hearted way. I mean, I have a really quirky sense of humor, and I hope that comes across a lot of the videos, and some people like it, some people don't like it, and that's fine. And as long as I'm happy with what I produce and I'm happy with the games that I present and I just have fun doing it, that's just probably the most important thing. And the other thing is, my third interpretation of the word sanctuary is a place to converse with people that are part of this community. And I just want to work a lot more in trying to communicate with some of the viewers that visit the channel, hear what you guys have to say, as well as answer some of your questions. So if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask me, please feel free to write them in the comments below and answer them in the next Talking Sanctuary video. All those elements of gaming, biology, I have a background in science and education, as well as majoring in microbiology and pharmacology as well. So I just have all these kind of things that come together, and it's kind of come to fruition through this channel. The last element that I really am passionate about is filmmaking. I do write some little soundtracks on the side that you might have heard through some of the videos that I've produced. But yeah, just really interested in editing, videography and photography. So that's something that YouTubing kind of brings together for me, and that's what I really love. The other thing I want to mention is I've been a really avid fan of board games ever since I was little. I think it was 1995, I think I created this really massive board game that just really spanned like an entire room. My teacher at school just saw you know, my love and interest for designing a board game, and she just said, you know what, whatever cardboard you want, you can have. And then I ended up kind of making one part of a board game, then extending it, and then extending it, and before you knew it was about 2.5 meters long. It's like the first board game I ever kind of invented, and back then I knew nothing about modern mechanics or themes. You know, I knew about Monopoly and all the really great Milton Bradley games. I had this one game called Forbidden Bridge where you had to get your little explorer down a river, cross a bridge, steal jewels, and then go back. And then if you rolled the idol, you'd have to press this big idol head and it would shake the bridge, and the little explorers would fall off the bridge. And if your jewel fell into the river, you lost it and you had to go back again. So it was a really cool like racing game. And I think that's what really struck with me about board games, is that a lot of the 80s and 90s board games just had that really cool physical and 3D element to them. And what I like about modern board games is that the mechanics and the themes and the ingenuity behind some of the design elements just really impresses me so much. And I'm so glad to have had that childhood memory, but also come out on this end and just really see how far board games have become. There's one game that appeared on my radar recently, and I played it last night with a really good friend, and it's actually on Kickstarter right now. And it is in the theme of plants and growth and vegetation, and it's called Verdant. It's a game, I think it is designed by the same designers as Calico, but basically it's a card and token drafting game where players have to pick either a room and a token or a plant and a token. And it's about kind of decorating your house. So you're going to be drafting rooms, placing them in a 5x3 grid, and then positioning plants so that the lighting that that room provides helps those plants to grow most effectively and efficiently by providing them verdant. So there's 5 different colored rooms that players can draft from. There are certain plant species which I love reading the flavor text to, like the aloe vera card, and then I realized that this cactus was called the candelabra cactus, and I have seen this plant, you know, so often. I did not know that's what it called, and it made so much sense when I saw that card. But yeah, as you're placing your plants adjacent to these rooms, they're gaining verdant, and once they gain enough verdant, you actually claim these really cool pretty pots that you can pot the plants in and score victory points at the end of the game. With the tokens that you're drafting, it kind of reminds me of Boss Monster. You're trying to draft a lot of unique items and you're trying to place them in your rooms so that if you have a lot of unique items at the end of the game, you can score a lot of points. The items themselves also have colored backgrounds. If you can match them in the right rooms, then those rooms are going to trigger double points for any plants that synergize with that color room. So one room might be geared towards succulents, another room might be geared toward like sunflowers. And if you position the plants right in your tableau, and that's the puzzly nature of this game, then you can score lots of points and kind of create like a plant victory point engine, which I love. And there's these little green tokens where you can put like fertilizer to give 3 verdant to one plant, or a little watering can that kind of spreads, I call it like the water sprinkler actually, where it spreads verdant around. It is a really beautiful visual game that just is a theme that I really like, and I've loved games like Herbaceous, but I feel like Verdant seems like a much more stronger and deeper game. And having played it last night just on Tabletopia, I was just really amazed at how fun it actually was. In terms of upcoming games that I'm excited about, and I think I'm going along this garden theme for this video, Azul Queen's Garden. Now, I love Azul. When the first Azul came out and was released, I was super impressed by not only the production quality, but the abstract and converting nature of building the patterns on the wall and scoring them, and trying to connect all the little tiles together to score them in multiple ways. That just really super impressed me in terms of an abstract game. And you know, often when people talk about abstract games, they think of chess or checkers and think of really kind of like a dry theme, but Azul just really changes the game in that way. And when Azul Summer Pavilion came out, I was like, you know what, there's no way they can beat the original Azul, but this one is what I like to call a gamer's version of Azul. So if you're kind of like deep into gaming, then this is one that is far more impressive than the original, even though the original was really quite good to begin with. You might have noticed I missed the one in the middle. I know I just didn't quite gel with the one in the middle. I'm not sure if it's because of the aesthetics or maybe just the way the game plays. I'm definitely open to trying it, but I haven't really had a go at it yet, but definitely those two Azuls that I showed you are my favorite. But as soon as they announced Azul Queen's Garden at Gen Con this year, I just was like, instant buy. As soon as it comes out, I'm pre-ordering that. There's something about hexagonal shaped resin tiles that I really like. I think in games when I see a hexagon, and what you don't know is that some of the shapes on my carpet here are hexagonal shaped, and I've also got these funny ottomans that are actually pentagonal shaped, and that's what my camera's actually kind of sitting on. So I do like that shape for some reason, and when I see it in gaming, it just kind of gives me a little thrill. In Azul Queen's Garden, it retains the same idea of that you're drafting tiles off factory boards, but in Queen's Garden you've kind of got these hexagonal tiles where all the tiles are placed in a stack, and then at the beginning of a new round, 4 hexagonal resin tiles are placed out on top. In the original game, you had the factory tiles laid out, and each factory tile had 4 tiles, and whoever was the first player could actually really see all of the options and had whatever pick that they wanted. But I really like what they've done in Queen's Garden, where if you're the first player, you've only got 4 tiles to pick from. In fact, if you're later in turn order, you're actually going to have a lot more choice than the person who went first. And what you've got to do on your turn is you've got to choose either one color or one pattern, and the tiles themselves come in, I think, a range of different colors, but the numbers from 1 to 6, and the numbers printed on the tiles come in little patterns. I think there's like wings, and there's a few other little shapes that they've used to represent the numerical value of the tile. Once a player has drafted their tiles, if there aren't 4 tiles sitting on the top of this stack, that whole little pile moves over, and then the next little Queen's Garden region is revealed, and 4 more tiles are now placed out. And so what you get is this little conveyor belt of tiles that kind of spread out across the drafting area, and you can see more and more options build up as the round progresses. And then after players draft all of those resin tiles, they can then draft some of the little boards that are available, and each player can store 2 boards, I think, on their main play board, and then they place those tiles out and try and score them and put them in certain ways in the Queen's Garden. I mean, I don't know a lot about that game, and I hope I didn't mess up some of the drafting rules there, but something about creating a garden and Azul and those elements coming together with hexagonal shaped tiles just really excites me, and I'm super pumped to definitely have a look at that game in the future. Thank you for joining me for episode 1 of Talking Sanctuary, where we talk off the cuff. I can't wait to talk to you like this again in the next episode. Remember, if you have any questions that you want to ask me and you want to get some answers to, definitely write them in the comments below, and I'll try and feature them in the next video. Otherwise, please let me know what games are on your radar. Are there any Kickstarters that you've backed? Please write them down, and I'm happy to explore and start a conversation with you. This is Danny signing out. Don't forget to subscribe to my videos and like them. See you next time.